Welcome to the Therapy Dogs Australia podcast. I'm Sam King, owner of Therapy Dogs Australia, psychologist, animal assisted therapist, and accredited dog trainer. With over a decade in the field with my team of dogs, I'm here to share practical advice, honest stories, and expert insights for professional therapy dog handlers, dog trainers, and canine enthusiasts who want to live and work ethically and expertly with their canine co-therapist.
And I'm Max, your co-host, Therapy Dogs Australia's creative lead and passionate dog owner, here to ask questions and bring curiosity as we explore this fascinating industry together.
So, whether you're a seasoned handler or just starting out, this podcast is here as a professional development resource to support you and your dog on your journey throughout this exciting industry.
While chatting to a range of inspiring people about our absolute love of dogs and the power of the human-animal bond. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave us a review to help others find us too.
Okay, everybody, on today's episode, we're very lucky to have the wonderful Christine Waters back. So you heard from Christine last episode, which we got heaps of feedback about. Christine.
That was so good. I was so sad to miss it.
Oh, yeah.
People loved it. People loved it. Lots of people reached out and sort of said, I actually have something I'd like to talk to you about. Or, yeah, just thanked us for discussing some of these trickier topics. So thanks for that.
I think it gave people permission to feel that they could talk about it. Like it was something to talk about. Because it's a fine line, I think, and it's a touchy subject and sensitive. So, yeah, I think it was a good opener for a lot of people.
I would really like to hear of other people's experiences with this sort of thing, because more minds, more ideas are really helpful of how people address things, and also learning about different things that actually can come up in school, so we can think it through before it might happen and have some kind of arsenal in our tank to be able to address it, without everyone ringing up Sam.
Yeah, so I'll just give you guys Christine's number. I have it.
Call me.
Yeah, well, if anyone wants to chat with Christine, reach out and I'll give you her email address so that you can choose whether or not to give you her number.
Actually, school is turning out to be fantastic for that, isn't it? People can communicate in a community about tricky things.
Yeah, for those that don't know what Christine's talking about, we have a school SKOOL platform now where everyone is able to get some feedback from Sam and talk amongst themselves, and yeah, it's turned into a great platform, great little space.
Yeah, it's busy in there, which is good. People are really enjoying it, so I think that's cool. I took a little break from there on the weekend, so I've got some catching up to do today, everybody, so that's okay. It's all right. I'll get back to you. I've got some new videos to post. I'm posting videos in there, dog training stuff, giving people some ideas on some things that they might like to work on or not, whatever. So yeah, been great. All right, so today Christine's going to talk with us about, this sort of came up last episode, and we just didn't have time to talk about it because we just had so much juicy stuff to talk about. So we're going to talk about social media and what people decide to post on social media around their working role, their dogs, things like that. So I think that it is a topic that I've wanted to address for a while. And so when Christine mentioned it, I thought, well, yeah, I'd love to talk to you about that because you've got some thoughts about that. And then I'm just going to sort of add kind of what I reckon as well along the way, if that's cool with you, Christine.
Sounds good. As most of you probably know, I work in a primary school, and there's really a lot of concern about safety of children, of course, is paramount. So media permission to share images is something that parents are invited to give. They've signed this form, and it gives permission for them to share their child's for the school to share photographs of their child in an educational setting, whether it be on the excursions or whether it be just at school doing interesting things in the different programs that are on offer, and show their learning. So it's fantastic. It's great. So, but some people opt out. That's fine. So whenever a child's image is taken, before sharing that, it's checked and checked and checked again. Is there permission to share this image? So a situation came up for me in my school regarding this, because just to set some context, I've got two line managers. I'm employed by Scripture Union, which is a missions organisation for young people, and
They handle the chaplains in schools
yes,
usually.
and they get funding. Sorry, the other employer that I have, or where I work, is in a primary school, which is Education Queensland setting, and it's government funded. So the government gives money for my position for the school chaplaincy permission, but it's called welfare worker or something like that. And Scripture Union provide the rest through fundraising, and there's always a gap of about $15,000 every year that chaplains are encouraged to make up through fundraising, which is really hard to do, but we manage it. My PNC, thankfully, have been donating to keep me there, which is so nice.
Aww.
It's just so lovely. Yeah, the first 2 years I actually did fundraising, and I did this high tea in the school pack, and oh my goodness, it took me a couple of months to get over it. I was exhausted.
It's been something I've wondered about with chaplaincy, because I know you've got to go and sort of advocate for yourself at the PNC meetings and stuff like that a lot of the time, and think there's how much of the chaplain's time is spent trying to keep themselves there when
yes,
like when
rather than doing
now you're sort of just
role
paying for the time that you spent on the fundraising to keep you there. Like, it's just
and this is it. Like, it is seen as a mission, you know. So a lot of the stuff you're doing in your own time, even if we make up the wages, they're really low. Like, it's something you do to feed the soul, not the hip pocket.
Yeah.
And as I was saying last time, you know, hubby's got a good job. He pays the bills. And, you know, I can just pay for incidentals and things. And like, I'm so thankful to be in that position where
you're bringing blessings into your family because you're working in ministry. So, you know, there's that as well.
And I think too, it was raised recently by a friend that chaplains in schools actually really help address youth crime, because we're doing early intervention with children, and Scripture Union, their whole mandate, their whole worldview, mission statement is about bringing hope to the next generation. And we know from the experiments on rats, putting them in water and making them swim, that if they're given hope, they will just hang in there and keep going. And it's this, you know, humans, it applies to humans, that if, you know, we need hope. Kids need hope. They need, you know, to know that there's good in the world, you know, and that people are really there cheering them on and, you know, supporting them. So, but the Education Department's mission statement, it's all about education and safety. I haven't read it myself, but I know from working there that schools are educators. So, and they're very, very protective, particularly my school, extremely protective of anything. Like, there's very strict rules about what chaplains can and can't do. And, you know, it's great. It's wonderful. I like rules because it keeps everybody safe.
Yeah.
So, and structure, you know, it's a good thing. So where the issue came up was I was asked, because I've got two line managers. I've got my line manager in school, who's the deputy principal, and I've got my management within Scripture Union, who I also am responsible to. And my line manager in Scripture Union contacted me and said, oh, can you please provide an article about your grandparent program and therapy dog program for the Scripture Union Life magazine? So it's a quarterly magazine for supporters of Scripture Union, and it just has stories about what everyone's doing, the school camps, the the youth camps, the training programs, what individual chaplains are doing in schools, that kind of thing. So I thought, okay, and with some photos. So I put in some photos that I've shared on Benny's Instagram, and the next manager up in Scripture Union actually called me and said, look, these are great, these photographs, the one I want to use, or the couple that I want to use, can you please just double check the permissions, the media to share, permission to share on media? And so I said, yeah, I have checked, but I'll just go and double check and talk to my line manager in Education Queensland, which is the deputy principal in my school. And she was great. She was so thankful that I came and talked to her. And I wrote down exactly what she said so that I don't get it wrong. I don't want to misquote the education department. Okay, so
Again.
get detention or something. No.
Right,
okay, so consent to share images is a rapidly evolving space, and it's a minefield due to the increasing sophistication of AI. So that's the landscape that we're in currently, and it is terrifying. We even, through Scripture Union, had to do a further safety, like safety course regarding specifically AI. And it was eye-opening. It was absolutely eye-opening and quite frightening, in my opinion. So parental permission, media permission to share includes, that the schools give parents, includes images that have been shared by the school on the school Facebook or online newsletter platforms. Parents that sign EQ permission to share are made aware by the school that these images could be reshared by anyone on their own personal platform. So they've put that in the permission form. And this is all within legal parameters. So if I look up school Facebook and I see an image there that I like, I can reshare it on my own personal platform.
Yeah.
And obviously that's something that I would probably only do if it was relevant to me, like my child or my dog or whatever, or something that I'm doing at school. Conversely, images, even those with parental media permission to share, that have not been shared by the school on the school Facebook or online newsletter platforms, cannot be reshared in other professional publications that promote their own brand, such as Scripture Union Life magazine, as an example, due to a conflict of interest. Like, they're about different things. So unless the parent of the child has granted individual permission for that to happen, then that's okay. So we're talking about images that even if the faces are blurred and the photograph's taken of the back of their head, you can't tell who it is, but even those images, we're not allowed to share them unless the school has shared them on their platforms or we have parental permission. But it's different with, sorry, I think I made a mistake with what I said just then. Even if the image is blurred and identity's been, we think's blocked,
yeah,
we still need parents' permission to share, and it's got to be really clear that it's on a platform that's outside of school and what that platform is, what it's all about.
Yeah, so it's even if they've given the school permission and the school's put it on their social media, you still can't put it in the Scripture Union newsletter thing, because even if the kids are blurred, it's the back of head, stuff like that, because you don't have parent permission specifically for that publication.
And so Education Queensland's sort of across this, like they've got their own special form for this. So it must come up, So it's a special release form for sharing on other platforms and publications for parents to consider signing. So they only offer it on an as-needs basis. It extends to any articles about the school as well, not just images. So the articles and the images have to at first go to the principal, even with the parents' permission. So that was a real eye-opener to me because I had no idea. About that.
How strict it all is.
Yeah, I'm not aware either. I mean, I'm not in that space, but yeah, I didn't know that you could even blur out a child's image completely and still need permission, even if they're not identifiable.
That's
Yeah.
the thing, though,
And
that sometimes they are identifiable. Like even if you blur them out, sometimes they're identifiable by context too.
Yeah, see, that's
So
interesting. And I suppose it's covering what blurring means in the sense that you could blur and not blur it enough
yeah,
versus blur and blur it enough. It's probably just trying to
mm,
protect. Yeah.
I'm always careful to cover the school logo on the shirts, on the uniform.
Mm.
But the principal said to me, the vice principal said to me, a person might come along in 10 years' time, see that image, recognize themselves, and sue you for not getting their permission to share, even if you can't recognize them. And it was interesting because the image that Scripture Union wanted to use was one of me reading, Benny and I reading a story to this little girl who has since left the school. And I was trying to find out who, because I had a very good relationship with her. I was trying to remember her name. And honestly, the social worker, the team, and I, we could not remember who this child's name because we couldn't see her face. If we'd seen her face, someone would have gone, oh, yeah, that's Molly or Dolly or whatever. We couldn't see her face. And honestly, we could not tell who it was because it was taken from the back of her head and you couldn't really see her body, just her arms. She was patting the dog. And so to me, it's like this is such a sensitive area.
yeah,
And so does it affect me at school? I absolutely did a wee panic and went back to Benny's Instagram and I deleted all of the photographs that I've taken of kids at school with him that haven't been shared on the Facebook because even not all of them get shared. I don't put them forward to be shared either. It's one of the deputies does the sharing, but it's just the really good ones that are really salient ones that fit in with different programs that I send to her, and she may or may not share them. So I had to go back and figure out which ones have been shared on my school platforms and then delete everything else unless I've got permission of the parent. So if I've got permission of the parent, I don't need to blur faces. They're quite happy for me to share that image or reshare that image or just share the image even if it hasn't been on the school platform because it's their kid and they're quite happy. Like I've asked, because often teachers will come down to see Benny, not the chaplain, come to see Benny. And, I take photos and we'll ask them, oh, look, I've got this lovely photo of your child with Benny and show it to them. Would it be okay if I share it on school social media and Benny's social media? He's got Instagram. And they say, yeah, it's no problem. I guess because there's trust within that environment and they're not strangers and, I know them, they're teachers, I work alongside them. If it was a parent who didn't know me, it might be a different story, I don't know. But it really brought the issue to the fore in terms of how careful I've got to be to just recheck those images. And with this particular incident, I just said to my Scripps Union line manager, look, this is getting bigger than Ben and her. Let's just do it the easy way and just share a photo of Benny and a photo of Benny with the grandmas in the crochet program. And he said, oh, but he said, yes, but there's also that really good photo of the child reading the book with the dog. And he said, what if I cut the kid out completely and just have their hand patting the dog? So I said, oh, I reckon that's all right because, you can't, it's a picture of a hand, for goodness sake. No one's going to be able to tell whose hand it was.
I want to sue you because no one knows if that's their hand. So
no. So it's got to that. And looking at the situation as an overview, this seems like the world's gone mad, however, once I learned a little bit, and I don't know much, but I know a little bit about AI safety on social media, and it is absolutely terrifying. So I have no problems with any of these parameters at all because these children are so vulnerable,
Yeah.
And there was a case, and I discussed this with my line manager, I think it was a Nirvana album cover. I'm not sure, but one of those sort of bands where this little boy was photographed. He was swimming in a pool naked. He was just a little baby, little toddler, and it showed his front, naked private parts and stuff. And many, many years later, he's up in arms because that was an image of him naked, shared publicly without any permission. So I think that was, I don't know, late 60s, 70s, or that kind of era. And I don't know what happened, whether there was a settlement or what. I haven't heard the outcome, but it's gone from that to this, in like 40 years, 50 years. That, there's a huge change in sharing of images and where images can go, where they can end up. And I'm sure we're just scratching the surface with knowing how dark it can get with child exploitation material and that kind of thing. We've got to be really, really careful of images with little ones. So yeah.
Yeah, and once it's out there, you can't get it back.
That's it.
That's the hardest
One of
part.
my clients' parents told me last week that they're not allowed to even film their kids, like if they do get an award at assembly, they can't film their kids getting the award because of the privacy issue around the other kids being in the video.
Wow.
So
I think that's interesting too, because it really highlights that each school can, yes, they stick to education department rules and regulations, but each school has their own policies that overlay that. And Scripps Union also has, policies. So essentially, I've got 2 employers and 2 bosses and 3 sets of regulations. It was the government regulations of what chaplains can and can't do. So it's a lot to be across, and it's changing. That's the thing. My line manager said, "Look, thank you for coming and talking to me, because this is such a rapidly changing area, and it's really important that we keep it current, keep talking about it."
Yeah. Well, psychologists just had their rules changed as well, all our rules around consent and stuff like that, and made heaps more strict, which is fine because the reason it's rapidly changing is because the landscape is changing in society so quickly, and so everyone's trying to protect everyone around talking about stuff like on the internet, or there's more restrictions now than what there was 5-10 years ago. We used to, in the course, when we first were making the course, we used to have like photos and videos of client intervention stuff in there. But the problem is, so when you get consent for that sort of stuff, you actually need to renew consent. And that's one of the issues that got brought up for us, like psychologists, in this most recent thing, like overhaul thing, that we need to be getting like renewed consent. So like consent to treat. We just did a big overhaul and just redid all consent forms for all of our clients at the clinic, and just they reckon like they didn't give us a really specific like you have to get consent every year, but they were like, well, it's not the case that a client can sign your consent form and then 10 years later still be in therapy and you just assumed that consent continues. They want us to renew the consent. So every couple of years or so, they want us to do that. I'm sure by the time we get to next year, they might have a more detailed plan for what they want us to do. And consent to discuss de-identified cases in supervision. So we can't bring client. So when you do supervision, if you've got like a client that you're working with and you're just a bit sort of unsure, or you just want to check in with a more senior clinician, so we do supervision with a more senior clinician, or you can do peer supervision. If you just want to check in with someone else and sort of get some ideas about whether or not they think you're on the right track, or what are some other ideas that we could put forward for this client, it's all de-identified, so they don't know who the client is, but you're not allowed to discuss that now in supervision unless you've got consent from the client. So
That's
strict.
that's pretty tricky. What's the logic behind that? Like that extra measure?
So I think that like some cases are unique. So it's different if I'm like, oh yeah, like 45-year-old female, perimenopause symptom, depression, like da da da. Well, that could be, throw a rock and you'll hit one. Like, is it like we're all out here fighting for our lives? Like,
okay, so yeah, if you come, yeah.
But if I'm like ex-client, like such and such age, this severe diagnosis, this very significant trauma history, like was in this accident or had no, I can't tell you the example. See, this is the thing. Like,
so my question is, if they didn't,
in the media, like I've had like clients that have had been involved in stuff that's been in the media, like. So, like you can sort of, it's just the chances that you're going to sort of be able to figure out maybe who you're talking about, because you don't also know the supervisor or your peers, if it's like you don't know their connection to the people in their community as well. Like, like, so you can kind of figure out some stuff.
Won't that get tricky though if you can't get, like if you don't get consent?
We all changed our consent forms. So psychologists all changed their consent forms and made it that part of the consent form is consent for supervision, to have the case discussed in supervision.
So it's all signed.
Because so in that, what that is it's for me to agree to treat you, you need to consent to this, because we're at a huge risk if we are not allowed to discuss the case in supervision. Yeah, because we can't get guidance. So it's a major risk to the psychs. But I guess it's just about it being informed, like, the clients are informed and everyone's agreeing to it, like, sort of thing. Yeah. So it's a tricky, evolving, moving beast. And that's why we took all of that client, like, because and people used to ask, like they wanted to see like sessions of videos and stuff like that. And I was like, nah, it's all out. It's all gone. I'm not dealing with the risk that's involved with the consent stuff. Even though you've got your consent, you've got a signed consent release thing, but what are the rules going to be in 10 years time about that? Because, like what if things change and then retrospectively someone's asking you questions?
What's interesting about that as well is so everyone's gone through, say everyone goes through the right channels and gets the right consent. So you post on your private socials or your business socials and you have all the right consent for the child that's in those photos. But one thing we notice about social media is how many times people will steal other people's content as well and just screenshot. And I mean, that's very commonplace. Who's responsible then if you had the right permissions but someone stole the photo that you posted and posted it elsewhere? Whose responsibility is it to recover that image or follow up on that image?
As the parent who's giving the consent for their child to be on the internet, they probably haven't even thought about that, like, because it's not their thing, like they're just living life, like it's
Another one is ChatGPT. Like, I know that the article that I wrote and gave to my line manager in Scripture Union, it was put through ChatGPT I don't know why they did that, but they did. So, and I also know that I've asked for it back so I can give it to the school principal to approve it. The other thing is, it's kind of a funny feeling. It's like, that's my writing, but that's not my writing. The deputy...
ChatGPT changed it a bit?
I haven't seen it yet. He hasn't sent it yet. So it hasn't gone anywhere, really. But I know that the deputy that puts articles in our school newsletter, like I write a chappy chat things that I've been doing in the programs and stuff, that gets put through ChatGPT by the deputy to make it fit a word count or to fit, the last article I did about the grandma crochet and knitting program was she said, "Oh, I put the one you wrote in the newsletter, but the one for the Facebook platform, I needed it to be smaller, so I put it through ChatGPT, and it had already been published." And I thought, okay, that's something new that I wasn't really aware of that people are doing.
Point. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you don't consent to have. Because isn't it the case that once you put something in ChatGPT now, like just the internet, like not has that knowledge or something?
Yeah.
Like that's how it learns.
Yeah, you can't take it away.
Yeah.
You've been training the robot.
So, and it's interesting, actually, you bring that up, Christine, because they do say generally with ChatGPT, you don't put personal information in there. You have to be really careful what you put in ChatGPT. But if someone else is putting your personal information in there, you can't do anything about that.
Yeah. And is it personal? Like, where does that line between personal information and
it's your
clinical setting blur? Because, that's the work that I'm doing at school wasn't about my personal life. However, the therapy dog's in there and the Scripture Union logo on my shirt's in there and, on the
first and last name even.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's an interesting conversation that I might have with her.
ChatGPT knows everything about us anyway.
Well, that's the thing.
I agree. I think it already has figured everything out.
Yeah, horses bolted.
Yeah.
It's just a very interesting, changing landscape, and it's really hard to keep track of it all. It really is. It's only when issues like this come up around child protection and safety that I guess we find out more about, the regulations and things that have changed to try and keep up with it. But it's almost like the safety regulations are trying to keep up with this galloping horse of AI and social media and right to share.
Which I think is actually like probably impossible.
I don't know how we're going to get ahead of it.
No. It's like for chaplains with our permission to see clients like in a formal setting and have a social and emotional support session. Like we need permission from the parent and they sign permission forms, and I've also now got all the consent forms to work with the therapy dog as well that they need to read and sign, and they need to be renewed every year with chaplains. Chaplains have got to get new consent every year from the parents. And I guess partly I understand that because children's guardians often change. A year's a long time in the life of a child, and anything can happen in a family. And, a lot of these children have a lot of change in their life every year in their family world. So I can understand that, but it's a real nuisance to have to do it. Okay.
Huge administrative workload.
But we understand all this stuff, but it's just a tricky space to navigate, and that's why I've always wanted to sort of bring it up and just make sure that our teams, because I see our teams sharing stuff on their social medias, and I think, yes, look at the balls on this thing, like they clang. Because I became so risk averse about it ages ago. So I've shared about my historical ARPA report on this podcast before. One of the things that was in the report was that the case studies which were de-identified. One of the things is that the person said is that the case studies were too, could be identified. And ARPA was fired up about that. Like, they take it so seriously. Like, the person was saying that there was the information in the case study that we'd done, that they think that client could be identified, something like that. And ARPA was fired up. Like, they take it so seriously. They didn't care about there was a lot of vexatious stuff in there. And we were just lucky that we had so many, like there was 12 people or something in the course. So we had so many people there that were like, no, it wasn't. Like, and we didn't get in trouble, but that was something that they were very, very fired up over. So I think I've said this before, but that person that was trying to get me in trouble because we didn't graduate their dog and they were upset, I assume, actually did me a huge favor, because having that report early on and having to go through that, like, you can get in trouble for this stuff, and me just freaking out. Like, I hate getting in trouble. Like, it is the worst thing for me.
Worst feeling.
I'll do anything to get out of trouble.
I know.
Worst, absolute worst.
But especially like this was like our first court, like it was so long ago, and we're freaking out, and then the process went for months, blah blah blah. So it's a big trauma in your life. But I learned from that.
Struggling to understand what I can understand, like, feeling disappointed, and this person was unhappy and put in a complaint about the process, was it? Or the sharing of information? I don't quite follow what.
It was about everything. So they just basically.
It's so professional. Like, I would struggle to complain about.
I couldn't believe it. And it was a person that was in our local, in my local area as well. The dog was a German Shepherd, Christine. Like.
My shepherds have got canines, like, they've had canines as big as my finger, my pinky finger. It's like, whoa.
It wasn't going to be a good idea to have that dog. Like, I've got nothing against German Shepherds. We've got other German Shepherds that are therapy dogs, but this German Shepherd was nervy, I was like, we just need, I wouldn't take that dog to your work right now, Anyway, they're probably going to come out of the woodworks, even just from me giving this much detail and story. I've got anxiety. No, it's all true. So anyway, they obviously got annoyed that, like, we just didn't pass them. But there's always been the option to reassess, but they just chose violence and went full ham.
Even though that was probably the kindest thing you could have ever done for them.
I am so grateful that happened to me so early, because it has really helped me be like, well, I don't really give a fuck if you want to see videos of kids in sessions, so that you can learn how to do the animal assisted interventions. I don't care, because I'm not, and I had all these consents, we had all the paperwork, but when that all went down, I was like, and then I think we did a gradual cull. I think we gradually culled stuff, and we just became more and more let's get this stuff out of here, and mixing up case studies and stuff like that. But it's a tricky landscape, because if you think about even some of the podcasts that I listen to, that are where therapists are talking about teaching other therapists or whatever, they talk about detailed case studies a lot. A lot of the time they'll change up wording, they'll mix a few clients together, and that's a good way to kind of go, well, this is no one client, but this is an example of a client. But there are lots of times when people talk about whole case studies, and the consent around that is tightening, which I don't really know how, ad hoc. Do you know what I mean? That's all this stuff that's already out there in the world. So it's going to be really interesting to see where everything ends up. But like you're saying, Christine, I think it is going to be quite impossible to keep up with the moving landscape of things like AI and
I think about that, your point about retrospective information as well. I've probably still got a psychology book in a bookcase somewhere that talks about the case of Katie, someone, and it's actually called, the one about group psychology and how people behave differently if they're on their own compared to if they're in a group, where this girl was being brutally attacked, and everyone thought someone else would
Yeah.
do something, and nobody did. It's actually called after her and it's in print. Like gone are those days where anything is, people are identified. And like I'm thinking the impact of this on in the medical arena, where like how do they learn without case studies? And that's a huge part of their learning tools, I suppose. Yeah, it's really interesting. But in terms of watching, I guess it makes everything much more our learning has to be so much more in the moment, like in terms of, rather than watching people working with kids and therapy dogs, it's, the impetus now is to actually go and get permission yourself to, can I follow you around and shadow you as you do this, and watch someone else doing it is often a good way to learn and get around that stuff, I suppose. But that's,
yeah, but we're not allowed in schools. Like, so if you don't already work in the school, it can be really hard to get into a school. I don't let anyone shadow me at my clinic.
Yeah.
It doesn't benefit my clients.
Yeah. I'm thinking, for example, school chaplains or people that take dogs into airports or, hospitals, or, can a person come and follow you around? I don't know, but like I've had chaplains come in and that are going to be a new chaplain, and they want to see another chaplain in action, so they get a bit of an idea, and they've just followed me around all day and seen what I do, and all I've had to do is get permission from the school.
Yeah, shadowing is something I've done in the past. I know like speeches and OTs do it as well. I just find it challenging with psychology because even though I've done it before and it can go okay, I just think like, how much does it impact this client session? Like, because I don't know really like how much it impacts them to have another person there. But yeah, definitely shadowing opportunities if you can get them.
Case by case, isn't it?
Yeah.
Case by case.
Yeah. And there's other allied healths that are like less sensitive than psychology, so counseling,
I feel like I see a lot of images as well of people who just put emojis over the kids that they clearly don't have permission from the parents to post. And some of them,
I always wonder that too. I'm like, does that,
or maybe they don't, maybe they
you
just
don't have permission, or do you have permission but it's just an added like precaution,
that's another thing that I've found out recently through a personal situation where I was getting some stuff printed. There's software you can get that will take off things people have put on images. Say if I've put a blurring over an image or I've put a watermark, there's software that can remove it.
Remove blurring. Wow.
Because I paint and I get cards printed of my paintings. And there was one image I'd taken to another printer to get a quote, and they sent it back to me with the quote of, this is what it'll cost to print 60 cards of this image, and they'd put a watermark over it. I mean, it's my image, but they'd put a watermark over it because it's their quote. I don't quite know why they did that, but I'd actually put on a USB the wrong image, the one with the watermark, from this quote rather than my original image of my painting. So I said to the printer who was printing the cards for me, oh dang, I put the wrong one. This is the one that I got a quote from the other printer. And he said, oh, I can take that off. I said, but that's been put on that image. And he said, oh, I've got software that can just take that off. And he did, just in a jiffy like that. And I was really surprised. And then I started to think, well, how does that apply to if I'm blurring faces or putting an emoji on an image? There's software that can remove it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm aware about the watermarks. I'd have to do some research on,
What about, have you guys in that Photoshop requests group on Facebook? Do you know what I'm talking
about? No.
People put their Photoshop requests. There's like a group on Facebook. Everybody open Facebook now. You'll thank me. People put their photos in there and go, oh, can you guys please just Photoshop out like my ex, like, because I really like this photo of myself, but, you know, we broke up or whatever. And these people are magicians with what they can do with these Photoshop. But the funny thing is, like, so the gag of the group is that there will be like 17 funny ones. Like the Photoshop is like they'll like Photoshop in like The Rock instead of the thing, or they'll Photoshop like a dinosaur or something, and like they do funny stuff. It's actually hilarious, like what people do to the photos, and then there'll be like one or two people that do like the actual request. And it's amazing what they can do. But there's always really funny ones. Sometimes they're a bit rude, but pretty funny. So if you get bored.
Well, my daughter actually was showing me, she's doing up the granny flat where she lives down there. And anyway, she showed me this app that she's got that you can redecorate, you know, take an image of the space and you can ask, I'll redecorate it as boho or pastel or whatever. Anyway, the photo that she took actually had Benny in it, the dog. And it actually also had her fiance who was just sprawled out on the couch. The image, it removed the fiance, but it kept the dog in the image and it gave him a facelift.
Brilliant.
It was hilarious. It made his really long nose, like he's got a short little stubby nose, like he's an oodle. Anyway, he had this really long kind of, and it was just hilarious that it had kept the dog, gave it a facelift, and removed the fiance, and redecorated the room, like unbelievable.
So that makes me pretty nervous about that. Like I hadn't really thought about that stuff, but it probably does exist, because if you see what people can do to these Photoshop photos, I don't know how they've obviously got programs that do it, but it's pretty amazing what people can do. The internet is not a safe space for anybody, let alone children. Like I think we've seen enough stuff lately to go, okay, so that we just need to call it on the internet for kids and just go, right, well, turns out it's very, very dangerous out there. We keep finding out things like roadblocks and stuff like that, like anywhere where it's like being at the children's playground. Anyone who's a predator hangs out where kids are. So if kids are on the internet, predators are hanging out on the internet. Like that's what's happening. The other issue that exists is like identity fraud is a problem as well. Facial recognition software, like we're all using it on our phones and stuff like that.
I actually just deleted it. It yesterday. I'm like, no, bad decision.
It's probably too late.
I know, it's probably in a data center somewhere.
So I don't know. I kind of go between like get out of all of this or just let it happen.
Yeah, I just don't want to make it any easier for anyone.
Exactly. So, and I keep losing my bank cards. So, you know, there could be anything going on with my identity. But hopefully not. So, you know.
Yeah, I also think there's other things to consider. Like I think the searchability. I mean, I'm not really across it, but being able to use an image of someone to find other images of that person or find information about that person based on their face, I think is something that we're going to have to also be more mindful of as like almost a search function of just the face of someone is going to be something I think we're going to hear more about.
Yeah, because what about like if the technology doesn't exist for that now, but what if it does like soon?
Exactly. I think we're going to hear more about it.
I'm wondering about, you know, if we take photos of kids from the back, whether somehow they're going to be able to turn it around. Because I saw something this week on Facebook about have you just upload a photo of your pet and yourself, they can turn it around and have the two faces in profile kissing each other, like the cat kissing the owner or touching noses or something. It's really beautiful images, but it's like how, like that was a photo of her face, like the front of her face and the front of the animal. Yeah. And they've turned them around and they've got them in profile. Like I just don't know how they do that.
I don't know how they do that either.
So, like, does it have implications for our images that we're taking photos of kids from the back thinking that's safe. Like, are they going to be able to turn it around? I don't understand how they do it. But it's absolutely scary. Doesn't mean we can't take photos of what we're doing and, with kids. It's really sad, actually.
It's and that was like the response that I was having when the parent was telling me this about not being able to video the kid get an award or whatever. I was like, God, that sucks. Like, it really sucks because it's even the case, like, not even the school will video it and give it to you. Like, and so you just actually don't get to have
those memories.
But you having those memories for your child, that puts another child at risk on the internet. Like, it's not really worth it. Like, you could just take a photo of them with the award later, but I'm thinking like these kids are doing like performances in plays and
speeches.
This is the thing, because this little girl was telling me about this performance or something that she's got coming up. I think she's playing an instrument or something. And she said something about like, oh, mum can like video it and show it to you. And mum was like, we're actually not allowed. So that's like a performance, like that's the kind of thing that all our home movies were when you were a kid. Like those types of big moments. Like those kids won't get to look back on that stuff, like it sucks.
And they're rites of passage that are important in their life, aren't they?
Yeah. So you sort of take a photo of them outside, like with their instrument or whatever, and be like, remember that time at the thing that you played the whatever? Like, but I just don't think it's the same. I think it'd be cute if you had little videos of yourself playing your guitar or your violin or something, like at school. Like, wouldn't that be cute to have that, look back on that and be like,
yeah, I've got that. Yeah, like school plays, singing recitals and kinds of I was so into like home movies, like way back when, like getting used to like Windows Movie Maker and mashing things together when I was like 12, making little stories. Like
social media manager way back then.
Yeah, I've always been around the camera, and like I can't imagine not having that stuff to look back on.
I wonder if it will go full circle and we end up with minimal technology like they did back in the 20s, just brownie box cameras, or
the disposable cameras that you have to get developed,
or even like back in I've been watching Outlander again, but the portraits they had were hand drawn and hand painted portraits, and they didn't have any of this social media, and they all kind of survived. And maybe it'll go full circle,
Yeah, well, with this fuel crisis, we'll probably see an increase in horse-drawn carriages.
And Christine will be right.
Yeah, we don't ride the grumpy old man anymore because he keeps throwing everybody off. So yeah, my daughter's already had some nasty injuries, and I'm like, you are not getting on that horse again while I pay the bills. Don't even think about it. Like, no.
Yeah, hook your carriage up to that one.
Golly. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say same thing, Max, because I think that this is an energy war, like that is happening now. So I think we're actually going to be potentially going not that great for energy, and AI is using a lot of power.
So much.
I can't believe that they just unleashed that onto the universe, and you can have ChatGPT for free. Like, I was asking ChatGPT if I am a celiac the other day. How much energy do you think that it used for me being like, what's wrong with me? Why am I always hungry? I don't care. Like, take that, universe, planet, environment. I was just interested to know. But anyway, everyone's using it for dumb stuff all day. Like, and it is just burning power. There has to be something that happens somewhere along the line where the world just goes, look, you can't have AI for dumb stuff. Like,
but I suppose AI, what it is, it's been developing for so many years. It's just suddenly in our face, but it's been there for a very long time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a hard thing to suddenly say bye.
Yeah, but
Because I think we're more used to it than we realize.
To like all the billions of people in the world just to be like ask it whatever they want. Like, do you like me?
How do I make more friends?
A school chaplain can help you with that.
Exactly.
Come to my group.
I did go to all of the school chaplains groups actually. Christine, I was the head of chaplaincy committee when I was in grade 12.
Aw, that's so nice.
I know all about Scripture Union and all that. Oh, and did my chaplaincy certificate actually when I finished school.
Oh, really?
Hey.
That's so nice. Oh,
Yeah.
and look how you turned out. See?
Perfect. By the grace of God.
Oh, dear.
Jesus, take the wheel.
That's right. That's right. He can part the sea. The AI sea.
So the thing I wanted to touch on as well, because I think we've just created a little bit of anxiety around this scenario for people, but I'm fine to do that because I do see some of the things that people post and I think, I wonder about that. And you probably have seen like we typically don't we, I mean, this is your topic, Max. So we like share stuff from other people's accounts a lot. I'm a lot more comfortable sharing something that someone has already posted, like you were talking about, Christine, like it's already on the school Facebook page. So you just be like, well, they put it on the internet. So if anyone's going to get in trouble, it's them. But you really are, we actually don't know what the rules are around that. I don't know if you know, Max, but.
Well, I think it's up to the experience of the person whose image is being, like, I think it could be open to interpretation if someone's upset.
Yeah, like one of those situations where they've got to like show harm. Yeah, see, I don't know, but I don't know if there's a way to track back. Like, so if we share like Sydney High School shares whatever picture of their therapy dog with the kids and then we reshare it, I don't know if we can then also get like in trouble.
No, so I think
for sharing that,
especially sharing on stories and things like that, the 24-hour stories I do a lot of.
Yeah,
when we're tagged or we see our therapy dogs. I don't think that's a problem. I think.
Do you mean like a day in the life of a therapy dog? Is that what you mean? 24 hours?
So the Instagram stories that you can share, they're usually just 24 hours and then they disappear.
Gotcha. Yep.
So often that's where we share a lot of whatever our community is up to, and it disappears and it's someone else's post.
Yep.
Then there's times where we've reposted directly to our page, but usually I get permission from whoever owns the image to do that. I suppose there's a level of assumption that they've already got the permissions they need, though.
That's what I hope. And that's what I think. But yeah, so I know we had this conversation like around the calendar as well.
Yeah.
Calendar competition, because it just makes me so nervous.
Yeah, that's why we just said absolutely no clients.
Yeah.
Just the dog.
It's very tricky.
Does that include arms and legs? I know it sounds like a stupid question, but really in this arena, it's not.
I think, so like if someone included my legs in something, you'd be able to identify me because I've got tattoos on my legs. So I think it's
probably
about
discretion.
Yeah, using discretion and being like, okay, well.
Obvious skin things, birthmarks, tattoos,
stuff like that, you know.
Little people all in the same uniform in a group, it's probably identifiable because not everyone gets to attend the chappies groups. You know, it's fairly...
Exactly.
Yeah, I see where
and then you might even have scenarios where parents or whoever, they don't want other people to know that their kids attend the chappies groups or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like it could be anything that they go like, I actually didn't want that shared. one of our neighbors, I don't wonder if this will be relevant. Just let me tell a story so you guys can tell me. Our neighbors are having a dispute down the end of the street, right? The new neighbor has been a nightmare. The dogs are constantly out, they're harassing the other neighbor's horses, blah, 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 blah. So I'm on neighbor team B. And so neighbor team A is the one that we don't like now. But there's been a couple of discussions like over the fence, like around like, hey, so about this and that. Anyway, they built a fence out of shipping pallets, like they just lined up shipping pallets all along the boundary fence as like, this is us making it, keeping our dogs in. But the pallets are just like leaned up against the fence, which is like very bad for the existing fence, which is it's not strong enough to handle that. But it was also an absolute eyesore. And where we live, it's like 75 meters of shipping pallets. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not just a couple of shipping pallets in the corner of the fence. It's this massive eyesore. So anyway, neighbor B reports it to the council. Neighbor A, someone in the household of neighbor A young person, gets on the community Facebook page and just rails all of the neighbors on our street and named the street. I've never even met him. I just hate them because my friend hates them. Just absolutely rails and like is like everyone on the street is like a horrible bully and all that and name the street. And I was pissed off because this was in like the Caboolture community group. I've got clients in this area that my street name because they come here like now I've been dragged into this gang war of this street. Like now I'm not even actually participating like directly, you know, as much as I think that would be fun, try not to do those things. So I was like very PO'd that they put the street name on the thing. And I wanted to comment on it and be like, delete this post, you little shit. I'm coming down and knock on your door. Like I was, we're not bullies, delete this post.
This is how Hatfields and McCoys started. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Hatfields and McCoys, the real McCoy. I can see another Hatfields and McCoys situation.
And also with neighbour disputes, you don't want to escalate it because you live next to each other. You want to de-escalate.
Yes. And that was the whole thing, is like trying to like keep everything cool. And yeah, you don't want your neighbours. It's a big vulnerability, like if your neighbours hate you. So yeah, I bring it up because I felt like my confidentiality had been breached, really, because I'm like, okay, but a lot of people know that I live on this street. So when you write this post on Facebook saying that everybody on the street is a bully, and you know, it was a long post putting themselves massively as the victim, putting in there like one of the neighbors has threatened to shoot the dogs, like just a lot of stuff in there that's like, calm down about that. But because you said the whole street, I'm like, well, now I'm lumped in on this, like, and I didn't do any of that. So can you shut up, please? They deleted it, but
oh, did they?
On their own, they deleted it. So someone must have said something about like, you can't really sort of just put all that on the internet. There was a lot more detail about like some of the other neighbors, like
maybe the admin deleted it.
Yeah, maybe. Because I would like, yeah.
I sound a little bit.
Yes, you know, it was a bit, yeah. Yes, yeah. But that's what Facebook groups are all about.
Yeah.
So. Are the pallets still there? Are the pallets still there?
No. Half of them blew down, and then the council made them take the other half down. But I found out after that the reason. Was it from the Facebook post? The reason they were so stressed is because the dogs had been out, and the council had told them they were going to give them a fine if the fence wasn't fixed by whatever. So then they just got all these shipping pallets and like tried to tie them to the original because they're in a rental. You can't do that. So you're actually damaging everything. So, and it's an eyesore, so you can't do that. Anyway,
I suppose that's a great example, Sam, though, of like what you were saying with, particularly with the clinicians and now needing consent before you share anything about unidentified clients. So that's a great example of how you can actually end up being identifiable even just by the street name.
Yeah, because they're probably thinking, well, this is one of the things that I mentioned the other day to Christine after we finished recording the other podcast, was one of the problems is when you've got photos of the backs of kids or emojis over faces, you also can't prove that that's not that person's kid. Like the child can be misidentified as my child. That looks like my child. You've put a picture of my child on the internet without my permission, rah, rah, rah. Well, you might have deleted the original photo because you're not even supposed to have it, like, blah, you know what I mean? Like, that you might not be able to prove that that's not their kid. So, and
then the distress of that, even if it isn't their kid, the distress is real.
Because if they think it's their kid and they're upset with you because that's what they think, and you're saying, well, that's actually not even your kid. Well, you're not even really supposed to tell them. I don't guess you can't tell them whose kid it is because you can't identify the kid that it is, because that's the kid that it isn't. But that's the example that happened on my street, because they named our street and I was like, oh, okay, well, now everyone thinks I'm
it could be you. Yeah.
And what do I do now? Like, I wanted to like comment on there and be like, okay, well, first of all, shut up. Like, now everyone's like, and just if anyone's reading this, it's not me. It wasn't me. I'm not involved in this directly at all.
Yeah, good point though.
Yeah, I think
I was experimenting with the effects on my phone. My phone's got these apps of the effects, and one of them, I forget which one it is, but it distorts faces. But it it made the photos of these children, made their faces look like. Have you ever seen The Wizard of Oz, the witch on The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
That's what it did. It elongated noses. It made eyes smaller. It was actually horror movie stuff. I thought, I can't share pictures of little children that look like that. That's just
terrifying.
You wouldn't recognize them, but then again, there's that software that can remove those, de-identifying features. So it was just a bit funny, but
yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in that actually, Christine, after saying, because I mean, there are definitely softwares that can remove watermarks, but I'm not, across whether you can de-blur images and things like that. So that is definitely something to look into.
People are so nifty with stuff though. Like, there's so much going on that we just don't even know about. Okay, so we've got that issue, right? The other thing that I wanted to discuss as well, you don't have to talk about it for long, but sometimes the scenarios that people post in their social media as well, just a little warning, guys, you need to apply all of your canine body language reading to your stills and also your videos that you're putting on the internet, because very often I see people posting photos of dogs that look stressed or in scenarios where the dogs look avoidant. And I can only imagine that the reason people post it is because at the time the dog wasn't stressed, the dog wasn't avoidant, the dog was enjoying whatever was going on. But sometimes when you take a still shot of a dog, you just happen to get them just at the time that they're licking their lips and, just at the time that they're doing whatever, the ears are a certain spot or whatever. You just got to understand that you can bring like a fair bit of heat onto yourself if you're posting pictures of dogs, especially therapy dogs, working in a working role and the dogs look like they hate it. That's bad for your brand, but it makes you look like you don't know what you're doing as a handler. So because as a handler, you should know that dog actually doesn't look like energetic, alert, pro-social. Like that dog actually doesn't look those things, even though they may have. And I know because I can take photos of my dogs who are having a great time, and you take a photo and the still shot is like, that dog looks like so unhappy with the scenario. It's not cute. If you want to share photos like that on your private pages, but on your business pages, don't put those photos up be really mindful of the types of things that you share as well. So we've seen things before, like people have got videos of kids like they've made compilation videos or something, and there's kids hugging the dogs. And if you all remember back to your course where we watched Caleb's story, there's a lot that can be in that short video that you're looking at the kid hugging the dog and like, oh, that's nice. But remember that we don't encourage that. I know some dogs like getting a hug, and that's fine. You can make that decision for your dog. Like golden retrievers often really like getting hugs. But lots of dogs don't like it. So then if we are going to use videos like that on our social media, we just need to be really careful, because the dog people out there who do know what they're doing will look at that and go, well, that looks like a good way to get a child bitten by a dog. Well, that looks like a good way to stress out a dog and shut them down. Or you'll get inexperienced handlers watching that stuff thinking that's what you do with therapy dogs, is and it can be anything. Like just think back to the Caleb story video, everyone that's done the course. There's lots of handling of that dog and that kid in that video that we talk through in the course, where, the kid's laying on the dog, resting a head on the dog, hugging the dog. And the dog is probably fine, but all the images that they shot of it, the dog's displaying a fair few stress signals. So as the dog professional watching it, you can be like, I don't think you should do that. I don't think you should continue doing that, or that child might eventually get bitten by that dog. So, and then that's a sad scenario for the kids, but also the dogs as well. So I would like to remind people.
On that, I can imagine if someone does, of course we never want this, but if someone's dog does bite a child or a client, I imagine people would go through during an investigation and look at those social pages, and they will be open to interpretation. So if they're seeing signs, even if the dog wasn't stressed, if they're seeing photos that look like the dog is stressed,
yeah,
that could end up being used probably against you.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think so. And then, when I see it, I sort of just think, you should know that doesn't look that great, because the photo doesn't have context. Whereas when you're posting it, you're thinking, you've got all the context. So you're thinking, yeah, and Benny or Sunny, they were running around all day with that kid, having a great time. Like Sunny chose to interact with that kid all day. Like, he likes that kid. He likes this, but everyone else doesn't know that, because the internet is, like we're discussing, it's a dangerous place to be. When people don't have context, they don't have all the information, they'll just make it up, fill in the gaps. So it's that like it's unusual. Like I had a dog trainer once send me like a reel, like a compilation reel that one of our teams had made, being like, what's the situation like with this dog? Because it had kids just doing stuff to it, but it was the handler's kids.
Oh, yeah.
I think people use their own kids a lot as well in their photos and stuff, which is fine. I don't care. But it does make it, I just don't think it adds anything. So it doesn't add anything to the industry that's positive if we display like kids hugging dogs, kids leaning on dogs, because I actually don't want the public to think that that's what a therapy dog does. I don't want dog trainers to think that that's what a therapy dog does. And I don't want handlers to think that that's what a therapy dog does, because even if a therapy dog does do some of that stuff, it's going to be a small number of dogs, and it should be for a small portion of their work. Does that make sense?
It shouldn't just be them lying around being hugged all day. Every day. Yeah.
And so why present that part of the job? Because it's cute, like it is cute, and it makes us go like, oh, but the bigger picture of that is that we're shaping what people know and understand and believe about what a therapy dog is.
Yeah.
And add
I've got an example to share about that, Sam. Exactly. there's therapy dogs that I'm aware of that are used in the school as a reward for classes that have achieved their learning goals and behaved well and got lots of points and stuff like that. And the dog is taken into the classroom as a reward, and it's a free-for-all, like everyone can pat the dog. And I don't allow Benny to do that because he'd be so completely overwhelmed. He would hate it. And it could really negatively impact his experience of being at school and take us backwards. But the other thing about that is that I hadn't considered, and you just raised, was that what's the message being given? It's dogs, not a
Consolation
circus.
prize.
Yeah, exactly. That or a plug-in toy that you can get as a reward. It's a living, breathing being, and we've got to protect them. And I know that my little guy certainly. I mean, he's a party animal. Don't get me wrong. He loves a bit of fun and people, being excited. But if I took him into a room of, 25 to 30 excited children, he'd be completely overwhelmed, and I wouldn't do it to him. So I set boundaries around that and just won't allow him to be used as a reward in a classroom. Yeah, I guess that gives a different message then. There, I even got a phone call.
Yeah, I think that
another school.
I think that. Oh, sorry, I thought you stopped talking.
Oh, that's all right. My husband does the same thing. Apparently, I give these long pauses, but I'm not finished yet. Sorry.
He's right.
Yeah, I got a phone call from another school saying, "Oh, I heard you've got this therapy dog. We're having a school fete. I want to set up a stall where kids can come and pay money and they can pat the dog and interact with the dog and give him a cuddle and have some time with the dog." And I just said no and explained it needs to be mutually beneficial, and for the welfare of the animal, I don't think it's a good idea. So thanks for asking, but no. Yeah. And she was understanding about that. Yeah.
And I think making those decisions for your own dog, that's what's so important, Christine. You've done our handler course, so we really pride ourselves on trying to teach people that you're your own dog's advocate and you've got to make decisions for your dog, because every dog is different, every handler is different, the client demographics are different, the environments are different. So I've done stuff like that with my dogs and I've loved it. There's certain situations that I wouldn't take my dogs into. Like, I don't think they'll like that. So when we have handlers out there who haven't had any training or guidance or advice or anything, like we discussed last podcast, how are they going to know? Like, because if they're just seeing all these dogs doing stuff on the internet, they're not going to necessarily know that that's not just what you do. Like, you don't just do that stuff. And that example that you just gave of like the cuddle tent sort of thing. Yeah, I see people sharing photos of stuff in those sorts of scenarios too, where the dogs look stressed and you're like, it looks like the dog hates that. So even though they might have loved it,
First
or they might have
100
hated
times.
it, try and choose your photos where, they've got these facial expressions that look like they aren't miserable, and try and share just those ones online. So yeah, that's all I really sort of wanted to mention about it. I do think that this is an important topic and probably quite timely. I feel like things are moving quite fast, like your line manager said, Christine. So especially lately, like things have really sort of gone pretty quick. So I think that's really good to talk about. Putting other people in photos, getting consent, just being aware of all these risks. What are you gaining from putting this stuff on the internet versus, like, what's the risk versus reward? Can you post something instead of posting something like I took everything out of the course that was stuff like that, but you can post photos and things that just have your dog in them and they're kind of symbolic, or they point to a scenario rather than having something specifically like live in it. that could potentially get you upset or in trouble or whatever down the track. So I just think, everybody can have a little bit of a think about it, maybe look up your guides for your industry. So if you're in education or whatever, like whatever industry you're in, maybe just have a look at that stuff. And the other thing is probably just that final piece on the canine body language of the stuff that you're posting. Now, sometimes people send us stuff for us to put in our socials, and I'm like, no, I'm not putting that on the socials. Like it doesn't share the vibe that we're going for. And I would like for the handlers to just kind of get a little bit more proficient at acknowledging that for themselves.
I suppose when in doubt, just assume, like maybe you need to have almost some boxes that you can just check each time you're about to post, and context and body language
eyes,
and
mouth,
emotions.
tail. Like everything's got to be looking positive, not sad.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point, because I've taken a couple of photos where Benny's been having a wonderful time, but he's dropped his smile, probably because his face was aching from smiling so much. But he's always got that goofy smile. But in the photo, he's not smiling. And when I've seen the photo back, I've thought, oh, he's not smiling as usual. But it's just been a momentary thing. And then he's smiling again, but that's when the photo was taken. So, yeah.
Nala's the worst. She's the most non-photogenic dog that exists. Like every photo, he just looks miserable. And I've got way less photos of her than what I've ever taken of like Sunny and Oliver, like way less photos, because she just looks miserable all the time. But I've noticed in the last little while, she's like 6.5 now, she sort of seems to, be a little bit more on board with the camera. But she's always been like, always just straight away, ears down, tails down, sad looking face, because her ears go down and then it makes her look like her head looks funny. Yeah, and she's all droopy and stuff. And I'm like,
some people just don't like getting their photo taken.
Yeah.
Just smile on your dial, little girl. You got a good life, okay? That's part of your job, okay?
Could be a whole new podcast of how to teach your dog to smile for the camera.
One of my very, very good friends, so this picture of Sunny that's up behind me, Charlotte Reeves, she's a pet photographer, and I've done a heap of shoots with her over the years, known her for 10 years. They're magicians. There's a whole art to it. If you get around.
Maybe we should get her on.
Totally get her on.
I reckon everyone would love it. Do you reckon people would love it? I think it would be a good one.
Funny noises and have squeaky things and stuff like that. But yeah, we should talk to her about that. How do we get good photos out there?
You're not allowed to do that with children's photography anymore, because I used to go and get the pixie photos done. I don't know if they even exist anymore, when my kids were babies. And they used to tickle them with a feather duster, and quickly, when the child laughed, they'd quickly pull the feather duster out and take the photo. But then when my daughter was little, she was a baby, we're going back 20 years or so, they said, oh, we don't do the feather duster anymore, we're not allowed to for hygiene reasons. I thought, well, that's no problem with the dogs. You could do feather duster with the dog. So, yeah.
That makes sense.
Except
babies,
if they bit it, you'd have trouble getting it back.
You get like mouth open, like mid-action.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, there's a funny one circulating with a German Shepherd, and they're blowing bubbles at it, and it's not knowing which, and it's just got its mouth open with this crazy trying to grab all the bubbles at once. So funny, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for jumping back on with us, Christine.
That's okay.
Thank you.
The co-host.
Yeah, so nice to be here for this one.
Yes. You're feeling all better. Yeah. No, yes, I love Therapy Dogs podcasts. I just learn so much. Yeah. So it's fun.
You are contributing back to the knowledge base.
Oh, hopefully. Yeah. And I guess the thing too is a week in a school is a long time. So much happens, So watch this space. Hopefully I'm not on again too quickly.
Next week
things will calm down for a while.
15.
Continuing saga of the Edge Hill School chaplain and her dog. Like this week.
Everyone will be watching Benny's. What's Benny's Instagram?
Benny the Teddy _, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Everybody, we're watching Benny's Instagram and giving Christine feedback on which photos she's choosing to share from now on.
Yes, thank you.
Get on to see Benny the Teddy _ on Instagram if you want to speak to Christine as well. Have a little yarn to her. I'm sure she's got some good advice for everybody.
I want to hear your stories.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, and we will talk to you next time. We've got some exciting other guests coming up as well. So
yes.
We've got some stuff coming. So we'll see you soon, guys.
Okay,
Thank you.
See you.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you're interested in studying with us, but you have a few more questions before you get started, please get in touch with us by emailing info@therapydog.com.au or visiting our website, www.therapydog.com.au, for more information and our FAQs.